I never thought I'd be sharing this, but some stories live in your chest until they demand to be told. This one begins in a quiet home, with a family that looked perfect from the outside. My son, smart, kind, respectful, was someone I trusted completely. He was the kind of young man any parent would be proud of. And then, without warning, everything changed. It started with small shifts, a coldness in the room, a strange tension between two people who had no reason to be at odds. My husband, my partner for nearly 2 decades, had begun acting distant, and I blamed the stress of work, of aging, of life. But the truth wasn't something I could have prepared for. What I found shattered every belief I held about love, family, and loyalty. My son, the one I raised and loved more than anything, had crossed a line I never imagined possible. It wasn't just betrayal, it was something deeper, something that tore at the core of who we were. This is not just a story about infidelity. It's a story about trust, about the blind spots we all have, and about the wreckage left behind when someone you love breaks the one rule you thought was unbreakable. We weren't always like this. There was a time our home was filled with laughter, family dinners, late night talks, weekend getaways. My son, Adam, had always been close to me. Even as a teenager, he was thoughtful and present. And my husband, Mark, though not perfect, was steady. We had our ups and downs like anyone, but we were a team, or so I thought. Looking back, maybe the signs were there. Adam started spending more time at home after dropping out of college. He said he needed a break, and we supported him. I didn't question why he seemed to avoid eye contact with Mark, or why conversations around the dinner table started feeling forced. I chalked it up to stress, to growing pains. But it was the quiet moments that began to haunt me. The lingering looks, the late-night whispers I couldn't quite catch. There was a shift, subtle, unnerving, and I felt it in my gut before I ever saw any proof. I tried to silence that inner voice, telling myself I was overthinking. But something was wrong, very wrong. And deep down, I knew whatever it was, it would change everything. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. and noticed the light from the downstairs hallway creeping under our bedroom door. I assumed it was Adam watching TV again. He had trouble sleeping, but something about the way the floor creaked made me pause. It wasn't random, it was careful, like someone didn't want to be heard. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. The next morning, Mark acted like nothing was off. He kissed me on the cheek, poured his coffee, and asked about my day. Adam barely said a word, eyes glued to his phone. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. But I said nothing. That week, I started noticing how often Mark and Adam were alone in the house together, how conversations would stop when I entered the room, how Mark defended Adam even over the smallest things. Something was happening, something they didn't want me to know. And the more I looked, the more the pieces started slipping into place. But I wasn't ready to face what they might build. Everything came to a head the night I forgot my phone downstairs. It was late, and the house was quiet. Too quiet. As I walked past the living room, I heard hushed voices. I froze. Mark and Adam were sitting too close, their conversation low and serious. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught just enough to feel the floor drop beneath me. "I thought we agreed this would stop," Mark whispered. Adam replied, barely audible, "It's not that simple." I stood there, hidden in the hallway, my heart thudding so loudly I was afraid they'd hear it. Every part of me wanted to burst into the room, to scream, to demand the truth. But something held me back. I needed more than suspicion. I needed to see it for myself. Over the next few days, I watched everything. Their movements, their glances, the private texts on Mark's locked phone. I felt like a stranger in my own home, quietly slipping into a role I never imagined, an outsider to my own family, watching a secret unfold that I was never meant to discover. And I knew the moment of truth was coming, whether I was ready or not. Just when I thought I had seen enough, another layer peeled back, one I never expected. I borrowed Adam's laptop while mine was updating, something I'd done before without a second thought. But this time, a message notification popped up in the corner of the screen. It was from a name I didn't recognize. Curious, I clicked, thinking it might be a friend or classmate. What I found sent a chill through me. Dozens of messages, private, emotional, intimate, between Adam and a woman I didn't know. But it wasn't the messages that broke me. It was the pictures. One of them was taken inside our bedroom, my bedroom, and worse, Mark was in it. That's when everything shifted. It wasn't just about a broken boundary. It was about betrayal, layered deep, woven through secrets I still didn't understand. Who was this woman? Why was Adam involved? And what exactly had Mark done behind my back? And with my son watching, I confronted them that night. I didn't plan it, didn't rehearse it, I just snapped. I called them both into the living room and laid everything out. The messages, the pictures, the silence that followed was louder than anything I'd ever heard. Adam looked stunned, like he'd been caught in something he never meant to fall into. Mark just sat there, hands clasped, eyes low, like he'd already accepted what was coming. Mark confessed first. The woman in the messages was his ex from years ago, someone he'd reconnected with online. He said it started as just talking, but it turned into something more. What shocked me most wasn't that he cheated. It was that Adam knew. He had discovered the affair months ago, and instead of telling me, he'd gotten involved, helping Mark cover it up, even meeting the woman behind my back. That was the real betrayal. But just as I thought I'd heard it all, Adam dropped one last truth. Mom, I only kept the secret because I thought she was my real mother. The room spun, my knees buckled, and in that moment, the betrayal wasn't just about lies or infidelity. It was about everything I thought I knew, being wrong. I sat there in silence, the words echoing in my head. My real mother. It didn't make sense at first, but then Mark admitted everything. Years ago, before we were married, he had a brief relationship with the woman in the messages. What he never told me was that she had gotten pregnant, and somehow, through a tangled web of lies, Adam had ended up with us, raised as mine. Mark claimed he never told me because the woman disappeared and reappeared suddenly, years later, claiming the truth. Adam had found out only recently. Hurt and confused, he was pulled into her world, wanting to know more. That's how the affair began, not between Adam and her, but between Mark and the past he never truly let go of. And Adam, caught in the middle, didn't know who to protect. I felt broken, not just by the betrayal, but by the secrets, the years of pretending, the lies I never saw coming. But I also felt clarity. Truth hurts, but it frees you. I left the house a week later. I needed space. I needed truth. And now, telling this story isn't about revenge. It's about healing, rebuilding, and never ignoring your instincts. Because silence, sometimes, speaks the loudest truths.